Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that is designed to gaslight us constantly. Every single day you are being manipulated and you don't notice. It's the little things. Have you noticed the language that these so-called professionals use? You might be saying that I'm just arguing about semantics, but language has power. Language sets the tone. You influence people, their thoughts, their emotions, how they view reality with language. You can describe the exact same thing with different words to convey a slightly different message. It's not about the inherent message, it's about the delivery of the message. Have you noticed the language that these so-called professionals use when they describe the world that we are experiencing? They'll diagnose you with things like depression, anxiety, paranoia, agoraphobia, OCD. They come up with labels to describe you in a way that makes it sound like you are broken. They try to medicate you. They try to treat you like you're ill. But the truth is that you are not broken. It's the world that's broken because the world created you. You're just a product of your environment. And by blaming the individual, we are shifting the blame from the true cause. We're avoiding the true issue in society, the root cause of the problem. Why? Tell me why the diagnosis for depression has increased so much these past few years. Why a couple of decades ago, people barely even knew that depression existed. And today it has become so common that I highly doubt that you don't know a single person in your life that has not been diagnosed with depression. Of course, it has become less taboo to discuss it, so people are more open about it. But I don't believe that's the full picture. I think we're diagnosing a societal issue as an individual illness. Because what has happened these past few years? I have discussed this topic with many people in my life, and they all agree with me that something has changed. So what has happened? Let's break it down into simple little steps, and then we'll look at the full picture. First of all, I don't know if you have noticed, but people's parents have become absent. They don't spend their time with their children like they used to. Mothers put their child in front of an iPad and then they go about their day, not paying attention to the child's needs. The father is even more useless. He goes about his day, he goes to work, he pays the bills, and he contributes financially to the family. But what about helping raise the child? What about doing house chores? We like to think that society has progressed, but these traditional values are still very much present, where the man expects the woman to do all the housework, while he simply sits back and relaxes. This system might have worked back 100 years ago when the man's salary was enough to provide for the whole family. But nowadays, both the mother and the father works. So what ends up happening is that the mother goes to work and she works just as hard as the father. And then she's expected to do all these house chores and take care of the child and all this extra unpaid, unacknowledged labor that is just expected from her. And that puts a lot of pressure on the mother. She becomes tired. She becomes apathetic. And what ends up happening is that she just can't be present for her child anymore because she's just so exhausted, so burnt out from modern life. Modern day slavery is what I call it, because that's what it is. And it has been normalized to the point where nobody acknowledges it anymore. They just see this as a normal part of life. Spending most of your time at work, never resting, being constantly tired. It's not normal to wake up in the morning and feel tired. You're supposed to feel rested because the purpose of sleep is to regenerate your body. If you're tired when you wake up in the morning, it means that you have not rested and you need more rest. But most people nowadays, they just can't get enough sleep because society is not built up in that way. We're constantly running on low battery, zero fuel. It's like running a car without any gas left inside of it, but you still force it to run. And if the car breaks down, it's the car's fault for not working properly. We have generated a generation of parents that are apathetic, tired, and burnt out. And the child suffered from this. Mommy issues, daddy issues, childhood trauma is rampant for our generation. I don't think there is a generation before us that is as traumatized as ours are. Because even the ones that experienced war and famine still had a community to rely on, a strong foundation that kept them resilient throughout hardships. Our generation, our family structures have broken down. We do not have communities anymore. The elderly are sent to retirement homes where they rot until they die. In the past, it was the family's responsibility to take care of the elderly, and this is our way of saying thank you for their service, for taking care of us when we were children, to bring back the work that they put into us. But now, the parents are too exhausted and overworked to take care of their own children, let alone their own parents. So the grandparents suffer too. And in the past, it was the grandparents' job to help with the raising of the children. So when the parents were working or they were too tired, the child would be sent to the grandparent and they would help out. And in turn, we used to have cousins and large family networks also helping out with the child care. But our society in the West has become so individualized that our family structures are no longer existent. So what do? We rely on the system to raise our children. We send kids to kindergarten. We hire babysitters. And we expect the children to turn out into normal, healthy, functioning adults. You can't artificially teach children emotional regulation. You can't teach them morals, what's right, what's wrong, how to handle difficult situations in life, how to stay controlled and balanced throughout life's hardships by putting them in front of a TV screen, an iPad screen, a laptop screen, by putting them in front of a kindergarten teacher that is too busy to take care of your individual child's needs because they have a whole class of children to take care of. You can only teach children these things by forming a special individualized bond with them between parent and child, but we are not able to do that anymore. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the problem we have today. Because how are we expected to succeed in life when from our earliest, most foundational years we are set up to fail? How are we expected to build up our society, to continue our legacy, when we are not even taught how to take care of ourselves, let alone other people, let alone contribute to our community? You are not the problem. You are not ill. You are not broken. It's the world that's broken. Let me emphasize this again. It's the world that is broken. The world that is filled with shallow, selfish, egotistical people because they were never taught how to be caring. They were never taught to be empathetic, to work together with the people around them because they didn't have any role models growing up. Anhedonia is the only logical conclusion in this world. How are you supposed to be optimistic in a life like this? Life is already hard enough. As I mentioned in a previous video, our economy is quite bad. It's hard to find a job. It's hard to find a house to live in. It's hard to reach all these important milestones like getting your driver's license, buying your first car, buying your first house, getting a mortgage, getting a good job, having a stable career. It's already hard enough. But many people, they don't have a family to rely on. They don't have a good relationship with their mother, their father, their siblings. They don't have any friends. And they go to therapy and they take a bunch of medication just to get through the day. And that is the grim truth of our reality. These professionals, they make it sound like it's your fault, that you have the wrong mindset. You need to be grateful for what you have. Grateful for what? For the scraps that are left behind from the previous generations? The crumbs? They are not enough to keep you going. They are not enough to keep you stable. Our foundation is shaky or even non-existent. We have nothing to rely on but ourselves. And we are expected to function. Not only to function, but to exceed our previous generation's achievements. To succeed when we don't have the tools to survive. And they tell us that we have the wrong mindset. It's ridiculous. And this is just scratching the surface of the iceberg, because we have unique problems to our generation that no other generation before us has ever faced in the history of humanity. Climate change, global warming. We have this threat that could possibly wipe us out into extinction. Humanity could genuinely die out if we let global warming get out of hand. Mass droughts, tsunamis, hurricanes, natural disasters that are increasing the hotter the climate gets. And capitalism has a chokehold on this industry, because every time we make progress, somewhere out there, millionaires, multi-billionaires, large corporations, and even entire countries are lobbying to stop progress. Every time we take one step forward, we take 2 steps backward. Climate change is not making enough progress, not fast enough. It is inevitable that we reach a point of no return. And if climate change does not kill us all, then AI might, because the rise of artificial intelligence is inevitable. You can't stop change, you can't stop the growth of technology. Because if you don't invest into AI, someone else will. And eventually, AI will gain consciousness. Consciousness. It is only a matter of time. When is the question, and what will it do? What will its motives be? Will it wipe out humanity? If it wants to, it has full power and authority to wipe us out. Now let's say that we survive climate change and we survive the AI revolution. There is another thing that could wipe us out completely, and that is World War III. We might even be in World War III right now and have no idea, because there's already so much political tension in the world. And the timeline of wars is not a simple beginning and end. It's not binary. It's like a spectrum, a gray area. Just like with World War I and World War II, there are minor events leading up to these wars. And people back then didn't realize they were about to enter a massive war because it happens so slowly, it just creeps up on you. So we have climate change, AI, and World War III threatening us right now. And they tell us that we are the problem for experiencing depression, that we are the ill ones. We have an abnormal way of thinking, that our dopamine receptors in our brains are broken. They are not broken, they're functioning exactly as they should be. They are reacting completely logically to a hopeless, horrible world that we are living inside of. This bleak reality that we can no longer run from. We can no longer escape with cheap, meaningless motivational quotes, journaling, and meaningless toxic positivity, because we are facing the truth now. And that's why we're becoming depressed. Not because our neurotransmitters are faulty. It's so easy to put blame on the individual, because if we don't, then we have to face that our society is broken, that it needs to be fundamentally changed from the inside out, which is such a daunting task that it seems almost impossible. And only time can tell if we're actually able to make a substantial change. The purpose of today's video is not to say that we are going to magically fix the world and everything will be fine. No, it's just to acknowledge the reality of the situation. I want to offer a different perspective, because so many people online just tell you to be positive and everything will work out in your favor. I want a more realistic approach, acknowledging that life is truly miserable, and that it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel hopeless. It's okay to be scared of the future, because these are completely normal emotions and reactions to the circumstances we have at hand. Well, this is my opinion, of course, but I believe that if you're happy, despite everything that is going on right now, you're either stupid or you're ignorant, blind to what is actually happening in this world. People who feel depressed, empty, and hopeless are intelligent, because they can see what is happening. And they understand that they themselves alone can't do anything to fix this. We as a collective have to gather, and we have to work together to fix this. But in order to do that, everyone's eyes have to be opened, and everyone has to have the same agenda and the same goals, which is very difficult to achieve. So the situation feels hopeless. And that is a completely normal reaction to have. It's a logical conclusion. Thank you for listening.